Thank you so much, Juliet. We bring in our political panel now to discuss the hot political topics of the day. Who are they? We have Kereakos Zuras, former advisor to George W.Bush, David Mercer, Democratic strategist, and Liani Balasuria, No Labels Generation. Good morning to all three of you.
Morning.
The big week for the president, as Peter just mentioned, he's in New Jersey today. That will be a difficult one, but the big is Thursday, the speech about jobs. David, what can he say? What can he propose that could get this economy moving, and more importantly, that has any hope of getting through Congress?
Well, listen, we've been on the spending side and focused on the spending side of the budget for the last 3 months. We've gotten that past us. Now it's looking at the revenue side, because we're 14% in generating revenue of GDP. We have to increase that to meet even the reduced spending to keep this government going.
Didn't I say has any hope of getting through Congress?
Yes. And
increasing revenues does?
And you're hearing a chorus of voices from Warren Buffett to Howard Schultz. You saw recalls in Wisconsin. We have to start creating demand among consumers, and to do that, we got to get hiring done, and we got to get government projects going, whether it's construction or...
sounds a little bit left-leaning.
I disagree with what you're saying respectfully. Look, what he needs to come out and say is, I'm going to take a realistic stance on getting small business and business in America back on its feet by lowering the corporate tax rate from 35% to something reasonable, so we can get corporations to start hiring here in America instead of outsourcing to China and India, and then getting other corporations from other countries to invest in America, and also give the relief and with these regulations to small business and business in America, so business owners can actually invest in their companies. Look, I'm a small business owner, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm afraid to move forward. And I'm not alone. And it's difficult to do anything, because you don't know what this president's going to do. He's not very favorable to small business.
Liani, is there any chance he can thread the needle between finding something that gets through Congress and finding something that gets the economy moving? We won't even talk about deficit reduction right now, but gets jobs created and it survives in Congress.
Look, I think what the president needs to do with this job speech is, end the political games that we've been seeing between President Obama and Speaker Boehner. And what the American public wants is solutions on the table. And I think we're going to see that on Tuesday when No Labels has its national town hall with Howard Schultz. American people want solutions with common sense.
Howard Schultz, in case you folks don't know, is the Starbucks CEO, has more than 100 CEOs signed on to say they won't make any political donations to either side until they see some bipartisan agreement here in Washington. That's not going to happen anytime soon. David, let me ask you, though.
Sure.
He's built up the expectations, and we have a soundbite to play for you. He's been building up that he has a plan for over a month now. Listen to what the president has had to say.
When Congress gets back in September, I want to move quickly on things that will help the economy create jobs right now. I'll be putting forward, when they come back in September, a very specific plan to boost the economy. I will be laying out a series of steps that Congress can take immediately to put more money in the pockets of working families and middle-class families.
Now it seems, David, White House aides are tampering down on expectations, saying don't expect everything from this joint session of Congress speech, that he'll roll it out eventually as he travels across the country. He called a joint session of Congress. Why is he appearing to lower expectations?
I think he's lowering expectations. We're going to see a realistic approach to solutions that Liani had just mentioned to addressing jobs. And that's going to be whether it's the infrastructure bank, whether it's getting trade agreements passed, which have a lot of job potential in creating with other countries, in addition to a 1% hiring increase for those government contractors that have contracts with the government and the privilege to do business with the government. You're going to see a lot of those specifics now on the line with a clear path. Now that we've gotten spending and all these other debates, now is to focus on the middle class and how do we get them working and adding to our growth.
Before that speech, Thursday, Wednesday's the GOP debate. And that's going to be talked. Of course, jobs is going to be #1 in that, Kereakos. Here's my question, though. Rick Perry, it'll be his first debate, not just in this race. It'll be his first debate of any kind in 19 months, according to local TV outlets in Texas. Do the other candidates take aim at Rick Perry, specifically Mitt Romney? I think he faces his Pawlenty moment when he has an opportunity to stand up to Rick Perry? Will he take it? Does he need to?
He needs to, because he's been kind of, well, Perry jumps into the race, takes a double-digit lead. Romney's been very quiet. He's been getting beat up at his, at his town meetings. He needs to take an attack on Perry, and he needs to attack him on all the issues.
On what specifically?
On the job creations, on foreign policy, on just connecting with the middle-class people and talking about, what we're going to do to get America back to work. And now, Perry's got a good record about getting people back to work in Texas. He's doing great over there. But I think foreign policy is going to be a big issue for Rick Perry.
My assumption is Mitt Romney points out that Rick Perry, Liani, has been in elected office for more than 25 years, while Mitt Romney has that private experience. But how important is it for Mitt Romney, for Michelle Bachmann, to stand up and take on Rick Perry, not just talk about the president?
Look, politics is not about attacking. What the American public wants from Mitt Romney are his answers to our solutions. So I think what Mitt Romney has to do is put his solution on the table and let the American people decide.
You don't think he needs to distance himself from Perry?
Absolutely not. I think he needs to stand for what he represents for. That's the great thing about our democracy. It's all voices at the table, and Mitt Romney should bring his own.
What's very interesting, in the last debate in Iowa, not once were two words mentioned: middle class. What will be really telling on Tuesday is if any Republican candidate on that platform mentions the middle class and solutions to addressing the challenges they face.
I'm going to make a note. That's one term I think I'm going to keep my eye out for. Are they going to say middle class?
Yep.
5 debates, Kereakos, between now and October 18th. Who survives this gauntlet? Does the dynamic begin to change drastically on Wednesday?
I think it will. I think if Rick Perry handles himself well in this first debate, I think he's going to maintain his lead, and I think Romney will diminish. We still have Sarah Palin, and we don't know what she's going to do, and she needs to either get in or get out, because she's not serving either of her roles, either as a presidential candidate or a kingmaker for whoever's going to be the GOP.
Hopefully she stays until June.
And then you've got Chris Christie. I mean, we've got till the end of September before these guys jump in. Now, if that happens, now we're changing the landscape completely. So it's going to be interesting, because there's a lot of unknowns still.
I want to ask you real quickly about, you guys are co-sponsoring this Tuesday night town hall that you mentioned with Howard Schultz. What comes out of this? Does this change anything that 100 CEOs are not going to give to either side?
Absolutely. Look, what we're saying with Mr. Schultz is that the business community is stepping up, and now we're looking for Washington.
And lastly, I want to get just a yes or no. Sarah Palin is or is not running. I think the drop-dead date is the end of September, because you got to get in Florida by October 1st. Will she run, David?
No.
She's running.
She's running. Liani?
I'm going to look at her Twitter.
You're going to look at her Twitter and just wait and see. At Sarah Palin USA, I think, is the feed there. All right, thanks all three of you for being in this morning. We appreciate it.
Have a good
Guys,
Labor
what's
Day.
coming up?